Alright, so today I've actually got a Psychic Hero deck using the Psychic Wielder and the other Psychic guy that basically their main thing is that they special summon themselves when there's level 3s on the field. Unfortunately, there's no real good targets for heroes that are level 3 that I can actually use with this deck. So what I've actually done instead is I've used the skill level duplication. So what I'll do is I'll summon my Sparkman, use level duplication when I have one of the Psychic guys in my hand to change Sparkman to level 3, which then lets me use the Psychic Monster's effect in order to special summon it, which is cool. But I also get to use the fact that they're Earth monsters, so I get to go into Gaia and wreck these Arcanas pretty easily. But that's generally the main idea of the deck. It's pretty simple. You just go in with your heroes and your psychics, try to either A, sync up into Gaia, who is amazing, because you can use Gaia's effect, or sorry, not Gaia's effect, Wielder's effect after you summon Gaia in order to destroy any monsters that are on the field whose attack is less than 2600, which, you know, 2600 is pretty beefy. Lets you go for some big plays. And then after that, you can just go immediately into Miracle Fusion, because you have the targets in your graveyard that are Earth and also a hero, so you can go into Gaia. I've also started using here Cosmo Beat, because, you know, he's a tuner, he's an Earth tuner, and then he also allows me to go into Gaia as well. Both Gaias. Should've just made this like a Gaia deck, I guess. Now that I actually think about it, I can go into both Gaia, Force of the Earth, and Elemental Hero Gaia. But in any case, that's the main thesis. The only main sort of, I guess, drawback is the fact that level duplication can only be used once per duel, which kind of sucks. But I mean, generally, once I summon Gaia, it's kind of game over. So you can see here, I don't have the Synchro, but I can easily just go into the Fusion. So I can go into Elemental Hero Gaia, who cuts, he's basically just Ryoku, cuts a monster's attack in half, gives me that half, and these guys are always using Dark Magic Current, so I get to go through these Arcanas pretty easily. Alright, so here's a duel against someone that isn't Arcana. So let's go ahead and get started. My opponent goes ahead and starts off. They play their Plant Planner in attack mode, get their Gear Town. This is going to be an Ancient Gear deck. As you will see really soon, I'm still in Gold rank, which just makes it a lot easier to record these videos, but he actually uses a D-Spell, which is hilarious. But he uses it on his Gear Town, allows him to get his Reactor on the field, and he sets one and ends his turn. I go ahead and I can't really do anything, so I set my Sparkman and my Canadia face down. As he goes for the Chaser, I go flip my Canadia, flip his Reactor. He does not attack for whatever reason, so then I go ahead, flip Sparkman, use level duplication to copy Wielder's level. Now he's a level 3, so I can special summon Wielder, who I can now use to sync into Gaia, or no, HTS Psychic move, whose effect allows me to remove both monsters from field once he does battle with a monster after damage calculation. I was hoping to use that against Reactor, but unfortunately I do not. But I do manage to get Wielder's effect to destroy the Mechanical Chaser. Reactor's effect, unfortunately, does not let you use any effects, be it monster, spell, or trap when he attacks, so unfortunately that was a bad idea. But I do manage to go into here the Miracle Fusion to summon Gaia, or Elemental Hero Gaia. Cut my monster's, or opponent's monster attack in half, and then do some damage with my Canadia here. Fortunately, my opponent goes ahead and draws, and the most that they can do on their turn here is when I try to attack, let the Canadia go through, and then they use their own Canadia to flip my Gaia face down. But unfortunately, after that, my opponent draws, and they get nothing, so they go ahead and surrender. Alright, so as I mentioned before, the main skill you want to use for this deck here is level duplication. You can't really do anything with all the other level skills. You know, augmentation is just going to increase your level. There's a level reduction, that's not really going to help too much. Duplication just copies it straight up. Again, it kind of sucks that it's only once per duel, but it should work out pretty well. I mean, you'll be able to bring out your Gaia Force of the Earth, get rid of a monster, and then you also have materials in the graveyard so you can go into your other Gaia. But the deck itself is just going to be 3 copies of Psychic Wielder, who's great. If there's another level 3 monster on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense mode, and once it's used for a synchro summon, you can destroy any monster on the field with less attack than the synchro summoned monster, which is an amazing effect. It works extremely well with the level 6 Gaia Force of the Earth. But that being said, you're going to also run 3 copies of King of the Swamp if you can. This just allows you to go into Shining if you want to. You don't really have to go into Shining, you can replace this with something else. He's also level 3, so he works with Wielder, so that's not too bad. You want to have as well 2 copies of Cosmo Beat. You can probably substitute this for another Earth level 2 tuner. I just added that in just in case you've already used duplication. You can still use it with Sparkman, who's level 4. That makes 6, so you can still go into Gaia. And speaking of which, you're going to want to run 3 of those. You could, instead of Sparkman, if you're running, if you don't run King of the Swamp, you can run 3 aliases, or Neo Alias, whatever he's called, just because he has more attack, and he's also a hero, and he has, the highest attack for any hero, so you can run that instead if you'd like, or any other hero. Maybe Wild Heart might work out a little bit better if you want something like that. I don't know, doesn't really matter, just has to be a level 4. Most of the heroes are level 4. The only ones that are level 3 I think are like Ice Edge. He's not really a great card. And then there's also Avian, also not great. But with Avian, I was originally going to run Avian with this deck. You can go into Tornado instead of Gaia, or you can go into both actually. You can use 2 Avians to go into Tornado, or you can use an Avian and an Earth monster to go into Gaia. So you can mess around with that if you'd like. I was gonna do that at first, but maybe I'll come back to that. You want to run some copies of Miracle Fusion. 3 would be nice, but 2 would probably be best. I run 1 copy of Poly just in case. I do have the 3 King of the Swamp, so I can just bring 1 out, but primarily I'm gonna be using Miracle Fusion instead of Poly. I just have it just in case. But you could probably definitely run 0 copies of Poly, especially if you're not running King of the Swamp. 2 copies of Galaxy just for back row disruption. And then I just have some staples here. So I have here Dimensional Prison, 2 Canadias, 1 Bad Aim, and 1 Wall, just to protect myself. And then finally the fusions that I'll be using, or rather the extra deck that I'll be using. I have just 1 copy of Gaia, 1 copy of Shining. I have the 1 copy of Red Dragon Archfiend, because I can kind of go into that with, if I have a Gaia on the field and I have Cosmo Beat, stuff like that, it's possible, so I have it there just in case. But most importantly, you do want your Gaia Force of the Earth. And finally, Psychemute is not a bad card just because it can remove monsters that might be kind of annoying. You can kind of throw him out there as a defensive option. If not, you can replace him with like Iron Core or any other level 6 really. And that's the deck. Let me know down in the comments below what you think, if it's shit, if I should change anything, or any recommendations or anything like that. Stay fresh.